No stranger to Niagara, but now making sound waves all around the world. Welcome to Rock and Blues Review, Spencer MacKenzie. How you doing?
How's it going, Bob?
It's going great. So today, the 20th, is the actual release date of your fourth album. So let's start with that. How long has this one been in the works?
Yeah, well, this one's been in the works for a while. My last record I released, I believe, was in 2022, and then uh, I started slowly working on it as early as late 2023. I had like two or three songs I went into the studio with just to kind of um, you know dust get some dust off, and then in 2024 is when I really kind of sat with my producer Ross Hayes Cicerlo, who did the last record as well, and brought a bunch of songs in. Did the like kind of acoustic pre-production with him, and then even on top of that, recording them acoustic. Then we got the band in to do pre-production. We did tracking separately, did guitars, did like all that stuff, and that was all in 2024. And it was in the like it was the bulk of it, I would say, was in the summertime, and which is great because I was busy playing and I was busy recording, but it was also at the same time a little hectic from doing a bunch of festivals and then the next day going to hop in the studio. But it was great.
Yeah, balancing the studio and the touring and the playing is always tough, and everyone has issues with that. And I think it's important that you make sure you keep some sort of schedule in your sanity.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's honestly, I always bring this up to people, like when if you're an act that tours in the states quite a bit, which I'm just starting to dip my feet into now. It's easy to drive cross states, right? Like you could be in a state in the next hour, 2 hours sometimes, and in Canada, um, it's a lot different. You're traveling a lot more to do not a lot less, but to get to the next venue. So lots of times, people that I even just want to be there, they're like, oh, okay, well I'm flying here, and then I'm driving out to Quebec this day, so that's a 3 day thing,
Hmm.
and like so it's there's a lot of travel involved usually. So trying to get the stars to align with people's schedules. I guess that's a testament to how in demand the musicians are, which is a great thing now. But yeah, just trying to schedule that type of stuff. I was very happy we did.
Yeah. Okay, now this album, like I said, the fourth, uh, so far you're getting tremendous accolades. You're getting attention and excitement from around the globe,
Hmm.
empty chairs.
Hmm.
And earlier on, you had some success with Gypsy Soul Records with
Yeah.
Preach to My Soul in 2022, right?
Hmm.
So that one started to get some attention, but this one really gathering some steam. In your mind, is there a turning point when things really started to get some attention for you?
In general or with the album?
In general.
Like yeah, I think like I playing live, I would say that the like recently when I went to Europe, well, not recently, it's a few years ago. Um, the band, like that was the first time I'd ever really had some back to back shows, and I really had been on a like bands could be on tour, but there's a difference between tour dates and touring, right? And that was kind of the first time where we had gelled because we've been playing together for years, but then playing days back to back and really kind of gelling together, we started to, I don't even want to say sound a lot better, but we started to just communicate a lot better. And I think it showed on stage a lot more. And performances got a lot more energetic, and I think that definitely switched something for me. But then as far as like just critical accolades go, I'd say when the Preach to My Soul got nominated for a Juno, that was a big turning point as well, just for people to go, oh, okay, there's like there's this thing here that I could. It's kind of like just a little verification that's like, hey, maybe I should check this kid out, because and as you know, Bob, like coming out to see me back in the like Canal Bank Shuffle days, like I had braces and rosy cheeks and I was shorter than everybody, but just trying to get people to listen to you, that's kind of the thing at first. And so I think I still got rosy cheeks, but I'm a little older now, and it's a lot more of like oh, okay, like people are more intrigued, I would say. And then simply, I think just from the last record, doing what it did, I've been able to work with more people on this. I'm still with Gypsy Soul on this, but then as far as the team goes, I have a great European and UK publicist, and that was kind of the like from that record doing well. We were like, hey, like we could work with these people, and then they listened to the records and wanted to do it. So I mean, it's kind of a combination of that music, but then also thankfully them wanting to take that on, and then they can get you the interviews. That people can get you talking to Bob Liddycoat, but if Bob Liddycoat doesn't like it, that's like, oh well. So I was very happy to have a really good team just with the last record doing what it did, and then just kind of using a lot of those same people.
Yeah. So let's talk about the band for a second before we get
Mm-hmm.
back into the business of music. But
Mm-hmm.
so the band on this album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the band on this album, the majority of the songs were done by a guy named Adam Cannon on drums, who's the drummer in my producer's band, a band called the Commoners, and then I had this great Toronto bass player Stacy Shopsowitz on bass, and then also for a few songs Steve Peltier as well, and then sorry, and I should have mentioned before, I also had my touring drummer that I play with quite a bit on a few of those songs as well, Matt Burns, Hamilton guy. And then on all the organ and keys and everything, I had my keyboard player Miles Evans Brana. Lives in Toronto now, but originally in
Hmm.
Waterdown, and that was kind of the band. And then producing the record was Ross Hayes Churlo. He's phenomenal. And then I had Sandra Boza and Chantel Williams on backup vocals. I'm trying to think what else as far as band is concerned. I think that was kind of the only thing really. And then a few great engineers and stuff like that. But that was the bulk of it.
All right. Well, it certainly came out great, and the album sounds great for sure.
Thank you.
And um, but all along from the beginning, your family's been really involved.
Hmm.
How important have they been?
Oh well, extremely. I I always date back to like being in high school, and I think like well, I mean, they put a guitar in my hands at probably the age of 5, and the thing that I think people like yourself kind of realize if they ever get to meet my folks, which is around the Niagara region usually a lot now, is that they're not the typical manager parents that you would think, or like a hockey mom or hockey dad, or a dadager or momager. They're very when it comes to going to the gigs and having a good time, they've always just kind of let me do my thing, which I've heard a lot of the opposite from other kids coming up in music in the past, and they've kind of let me do my thing when I'm there, and I've been so thankful for that. But then on the other end of it, just as I grow my business, they both have helped me and kind of like understanding it as a business and treating it like a business and kind of working and grinding towards that. So like it's not only the support and coming to see me play and doing that, but it's also just kind of being home and helping me navigate this stuff because it's definitely very tricky to do alone, and I couldn't do it without them. So really having them there for me, uh, just like I have some questions or just kind of like my mom helps me out huge. Just kind of she used to run a business, like a few decades ago, and so she understands that type of mentality that you have to have. You have to be communicating and you have to be on top of your taxes and you have to be everything has to be detailed and it's I never had a 9 to 5 job, but I like the phrase, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7.
Right.
You might have one day of nothing going on, but there's always an email, there's always a text, there's always a something to be doing, and I'm very fortunate to have them in my circle.
Right. So that's you mentioned it. I met them a long time ago.
Hmm.
Sander was always at the fore when it came to being your biggest fan, and your dad Richard is now a co-writer quite often. How did
Hmm.
he start? How did he start writing?
Well, um, most people think that he's like musically inclined, but he's not really. He doesn't play an instrument or anything like that. But he's definitely a musical encyclopedia. And he, even though he's not a musician, he could definitely hold a tune, and he has musical ear. Like if he wanted to, he could definitely play. Like he could learn how to. I think he would be decent. But more importantly, like I said, he's a musical encyclopedia. So like growing up, if I was like, oh, when do you think this record came out? He'd always be within like 2 years of any type of music that he loved it. I always boggled my mind. Um, and he grew up painting and really kind of delving into fine art, especially. And like as he got older, he never really did it. But then as I got into music, he just kind of wrote songs, and then like when Infected with the Blues, which really it's no longer really on streaming services, but um, that was my first record. He like wrote a lot with me, and I only had 3 original songs on there, but that was like my first experience, and we kind of wrote together. And then on Cold November, um, the record after that, we wrote a lot more together, and he just kind of comes to me with ideas. Like he loves poetry, and he loves music so much. Like he's a lyric guy for sure. And he'll just come to me like Cold November, we wrote together. Preach to My Soul, I started writing a bit more, and then this record's kind of a combination because as he gets older and I get older, he kind of wants to pass along what he does. He says, "You write a song, bring it to me. Let's try that." That way it's kind of you know um, bringing what he has to my life and what I have to his, as opposed to like maybe him just coming with something like he would when I was like 16 or whatever. Um, and um, like I said, he got into it because he loves art and loves music in general. But he kind of comes to me with like poems, really, or kind of like not poems, but just like kind of words with intent, and like they're not even necessarily songs. Sometimes they're just kind of like I think I got like this verse and this chorus, maybe. But then other times like he might be sitting on something for a while and he has an inspiration and then it's like okay, this is a little more confined. But other times he's like, yeah, these are just like I might have this song in mind, but that's about it. And sometimes the song gets flipped on its head. Other times it stays pretty similar. But what's been great with this record is I've written some songs and then kind of showed him as well. So it's been a really great experience.
So let's get back to the the business aspect because I
Hmm.
think that's huge. I
Hmm.
remember remarking to your dad a number of years ago that you seemed to be doing everything right. And
Hmm.
by that I meant you were looking after the business end. A lot of people have tremendous talent, but they don't do anything with it. They don't get out there and market it. And
Hmm.
Anthony Gomes mentioned it my last interview about
Nice.
it is music business and you got to take care of it. And
Hmm.
he's always been really good with promotion, and so have you. Um, how did you decide early on that that was going to be a real major part of what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that it wasn't even like early on per se. I think like the when I was in high school and I started playing some like festivals that had some merit to them, either locally or around the country. It was like, oh, okay, like not that I didn't take it seriously before, but it was a bit more like, oh, like okay, this is turning into something that that like that's around that like grade 9, grade 10 when like, I was like, okay, I need to start treat like I'm I'm not making a crazy amount of money, but I'm making it like I'm grossing enough income where it's like okay, it starts to become a problem because you got to pay your band, you got to pay your expenses, so you might not make a lot yourself, but what you're bringing in is definitely something to be looked at, and if you don't have it handled, then that's how you kind of you get a letter in the mail, and you're like, why? What the heck? How do I? Um, and from my like I said before, from my mom running her business, that was something she kind of saw and was like, hey, like you need to start collecting your receipts. You need to start like just kind of writing down your mileage. Um, you need to start like like having what like figuring out your budgets for your gigs and stuff like that. Not even promotion yet, really, but just kind of starting to treat it serious. And then by the time like in between Cold November and Preach to My Soul, like I had an accountant and like I like had that stuff, and then in between that, like as far as the like that's just simple business stuff of any business at all, but as far as music business is concerned, like it will the first thing is it's tricky. Like it's extremely difficult, and everyone has their own niche, and you work with teams of people. But I think that around like Preach to My Soul coming out, um, like social media has already been so huge, but especially like around the like COVID time, that's a time where I realized it was like, oh, I need to be posting on social media frequently, and I need to be posting things like of value, and sometimes not even of value, just to kind of like it's a social network. Like lots of people, they think, oh, okay, this has to be like the best thing I ever posted. Like it's like no, that's not how social media even works now. It's just like
Mhm.
like I mean like you just want to be posting with people and they want to know you, and that's something I think it took me a while to learn as far as the promoting end and as far as the business end. It's just like you could promote about your shows all you want, and you should, but the other thing is like you just need to post videos of you playing the guitar, and you need to post videos of a thing you were in, or you need to post about the after of a show, or pictures that you got, or that you're here the one day, or that you're traveling it's like it's a never ending thing. I'm very thankful for it. um but I definitely didn't grow up like learning like, hey, you need to be posting this or else it really didn't happen, which is crazy to think like that, like like all the legends of blues are kind of rolling over in their grave. Like, what do you mean you got to tell people what you did? But nowadays you do, um, and it's like uh, it's something to be learned. I think that like the young musicians now, like even younger than myself, they grow up with their phone in their hand and TikTok and Instagram, and it's like obviously there's challenges to that, but the other thing is too, a kid's gonna see that, they're gonna see a guy playing the guitar and they're gonna go, hey, that's really cool. Where even when you were my age, like if you didn't have parents that had a iTunes collection or a CD collection, then like you just weren't getting the music. But now it's like, hey Google, play this, and it's like, okay, boom, like done. And so I think that um, your name has to be there when they want to be looking. It's something that is extremely important. So it's like marketing yourself, but then also you have to be like casually marketing yourself now. You can't be like if you're posting, here's my show, buy this, do this all the time, they're gonna be like, this guy's asking me to do stuff all the time. Where like, post a video of you playing, say hi, or even if it's about a show or about a record, talk to them, and because that's what I do in person anyway, and that's kind of it's I'm gonna say it's sad to say that like you have to be, as much as you're practicing your instrument and doing your writing, you have to be doing that because it's like it's just a mass amount of people's lives now.
Right. Well, like I said, I think you're doing a great job. And
I
to me, you've
appreciate
been doing
that.
it all along. So let's just mention, you mentioned the local festivals and I didn't think about it at the time, but looking back, I've been looking over your track record kind of, and your first Canal Bank Shuffle appearance was 2015. In 2016, you played with Bob Margolin and Hayden Fogel. In 2016, you opened for Chris Doherty. In
Yeah.
2017, you played with Paul Delorier. In
Oh yeah.
2018, you played with Jack de Kaiser. And
Hmm.
I'm thinking that's probably opportunities that other artists maybe didn't get because you were here and you were appearing in all those shuffles.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you know as well as I do. Like I grew up going to Donley's all the time, which is a fantastic pub in Thorold, and I still go there all the time. But I grew up going to an open jam there, and Brant Parker was there, and like he's one of the most generous guys I've ever met when it comes to music, and like I had some great teachers before then in the Niagara region. One was John Navaroli, and the other was Alan Lammy.
Hmm.
Those two are like in Ridgeway where I lived, and that's where I grew up. That's where I play a lot of my music. But then as far as like when I was an early teenager, like probably like 15, like 14 even, I went to Donnelly's, and that was kind of the breaking point there. And it was actually what you and I both know Max Hillier as well,
Hmm.
who played at Donnelly's. He kind of told me about Donnelly's. And then I went met Brant, and then Brant said, "Hey, you should come to this gig I do in Hamilton on Sundays." And I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast knows about like what guest spots are, but the guest spot's kind of an old blues tradition, really, where it's like this band's gonna be here every week, and we're gonna have a new guest every week, or sometimes we might have the same guest for a month, and it's also like a jazz tradition and a folk tradition too to do that. But the house band, right? And I went to his house band gig, and I was this kid with braces and a guitar, because Brant really liked what I did at the jam, and it was almost like he wanted to show Jack de Kaiser, you know, like guys like Paul Delorier, or even like the local guys of the circuit like Chuck Jackson and Tony Springer, and like I can go on and on and on. But I got up with them and played with them, and because Brant was like, "Hey, get your guitar," and that was kind of the first thing I was like, "This is awesome." And then that in turn led to like Brant being like me getting me up more at Donnelly's, and then you guys being like, "Hey, like Brant has that kid when he plays. Maybe he'll get him up with, uh, you know, Jack DeKaiser, or he'll do this, and like like you guys saw that in me as well, very young, like working with the Canal Shuffle and doing that as well, and that's like playing that getting up with Bob Margolin and Paul Delorier and stuff like that. That was like I played with Brant, and then Brant got me up places, but then you guys were like, "Hey, you guys are doing this thing. You should do it over here." Like during this festival, and I'm forever grateful for that, because like you guys like gave me a chance. Really, I remember the first time I played at the Holy Rosary with the Canal Bank. It was
Right.
and that was like, it was just the craziest experience.
Right. And I was looking back through the old programs, and and we wrote in that in 2017 we wrote catch Spencer before he belongs to the world. Now you seem to be perched for that world conquest, but you're still staying close to your roots with Donnelly's, with the
hmm
sanctuary at home.
hmm
Is it important for you to keep balance of local and international?
Definitely, like especially around like new record time. Um, it's a time where I'm booking a lot of places that people want to see me. Um, but I still live in the town I was born in, and Donley's is only 20 minutes away, really. Um, so people are always like, "Hey, where are you playing? Where are you playing? Where are you playing?" And usually I'm like, "Well, I'm playing far away, here and here and here." So I always try and kind of make it a point to, like, I kind of do like a surprise pop up at Donley's the odd time, and then like for the sanctuary, I even like, because people are like, "When are you playing local?" And nowadays, like, I might do the odd thing, like I said, like just kind of show up somewhere and do something acoustically, or do something small. But then as far as seeing the band and seeing the touring set, I kind of make sure I carve out that time to play places like the Sanctuary, because around this town, people are like, "I need to see it again. That was awesome." Um, and so I think it's a great thing to have, and also the Niagara region just has so much great talent, that I'm not gonna say goes unheard, but is definitely like a bit of a surprise sometimes. And there's just a lot of talented people, so it's great to stick around and involve that in the life of playing all over.
Right. And we mentioned the things that you did right over time. And one of the things I noticed, early on was that you would actually come out. We mentioned some of the big stars that came to town, and you would actually come out and watch and listen. And a lot of guys didn't do that. And, I think it was really important that you took the time to come to
hmm
learn,
hmm
to get some ideas. And again, you showed that early on.
Yeah, just going to see, like, and like we talked about getting up and playing with a lot of people, but sometimes that also wasn't always the case. Just coming to watch people play, um, was something that was like I just loved to do, and I wasn't able to drive yet, so I kind of had to rely on, again, my terrific parents helping me out with that. But yeah, just coming to see people play, and then in term, like, learning so much, and just like I watched Brant so many times, that like I think it's just intellect, like on an intellectual level, like I process it, but then on a physical level, like I just seen it so many times that like I kind of adapted into it, like not even realizing, because I'd go there like every week, you know.
Right. Well, like I said, I mean, I noticed you coming out, which a lot of players don't, and I always thought that was kind of a shame.
Mm.
Now, do you mind when people compare you to a young Joe Bonamassa or a young Johnny Lang?
No, not at all. I don't mind at all. I think it's great. Um, like obviously, like the Johnny Lang thing, I'm very concerned about because I know he doesn't really play as much now, and it's crazy. I saw him like just pre-COVID at the Trelf in Buffalo. That's no longer around anymore, that venue, but um, it was one of the craziest shows I've ever seen. Like his energy, like it was just wild. And I really like being compared to Joe. I grew up listening to Joe, and like there's so many great live records that he has, that I kind of just really sunk my teeth into. Like as far as like when I started playing my live shows a lot and stuff like that, I drew a lot of inspiration from him, and so like to get compared to those two great guys who like just I've seen both their shows, and I've been thankful to meet Joe once. Like they just have the best thing going. Like Johnny Lang had this like raw energy when I saw him. He wasn't much like Joe, where he was kind of like really playing something articulate. Um, he was like he was doing like the Stevie Ray thing, where it was like kind of just like this. There was this sloppiness about it, or like the Albert King thing, where it was just kind of like he'd just stay on some bends and just like and just like go crazy, but the energy around him was just like this ball, and like you could tell that when he was done, he was done. Like you could tell that that guy goes back to the hotel and just like passes out.
Right.
Um, because I saw it, I was like, holy moly! Like this guy's gonna have a stroke. Like he's going so hard. And like I think that's something to be said, because then seeing Joe, like he had this band. Well, I think he started with a smaller band, but then later on, kind of having like Anton Fig and then Reese on keys, like that's historic. And then like he had a horn section and backup vocals and bass, and like that was like a well tailored machine, that band. And then he would step out and perform this like crazy guitar solo, and the arrangements were like just spot on, and like like he would have a perfect song, but then have a perfect spot to improvise as well. And it was much more like it was blues rock, but the show was clean cut, if that makes sense. Like it was a well oiled machine. And I think I get compared for my music, like musically, like Joe, which I'm extremely grateful for. But then Johnny Lang, I think I get a bit of that energy. When people see him play, they see that energy in me, and I think it's almost more of a compliment now to get the Joe Bonamassa and Johnny Lang than it was when I was like 17, 16. Because like you get compared to everyone who's young when you're young, but then when you're older, well, like I mean, I have a long career ahead of me, but when you get compared to these people now, it's more of like it's a compliment, because it's not just because of your face.
Right.
It's
Well,
because of your music.
right. And I think that's the way it is. I mean,
Hmm.
I think those comparisons are made just to give other people a frame of reference if they've never
Yeah.
seen you. Well, he's
Yeah.
like so and so. He's like, it's not, it's not meant to be negative in any way.
No, and I think that's where people get mixed up too. Even if something might sound negative, or if someone's coming up to you and like meaning to tell you something, it's usually for a positive reason, right? Like even if you don't fully agree, it's like, hey, that person really enjoyed my set. Doesn't care who they think I sound like.
Right.
It matters that they came and they bought a CD and they love it and they're gonna come again.
Right. Uh, like I said, I think it's just a frame of reference for people who maybe not have seen you before. But getting back to
Hmm.
Bonamassa just for a second,
Hmm.
did you ever think that you would have the same publicist as he, Peter Noble?
Yeah, I'm. That's one step in getting next to him again and meeting him again, and hopefully sharing a lick. You never know. But I never really thought that, and I didn't like work with Peter Noble up until this record. I believe he does his like EU and UK publicity. I'm not like 100% certain, but I know he works with them in that regard. Um, and it's something that is like, wow, this is becoming a bit more of a like, as far as like people are like that would even be a good like turning moment, like when you said earlier, in the
Right.
beginning, when it was a good turning moment. It's like, oh, like working with the same great guy who like he closes an email with me and then writes another one to Joe's team, and it's like that's kind of really cool. And it's just like I've met people who have worked with him before and stuff like that, but then to be like, it just makes me feel a little closer to him, and to be known that I'm in that same world, or at least starting to be, is something that I just take tremendous pride in.
Right. Now I'm just going to look over, I'm going to read this list because there's no way I can remember it. But,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about the progression and the attention. So, Blues Rock Review looked at Preach to My Soul in 2022. They did your video, Don't Want to Be Your Dog, in 2022. Just Listen had you in 2025. Blues Rock Review had your single, Shoot Me Down. Uh, they had you listed among 10 great songs of the year, along
I
with a
love it.
lot of superstars, including Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Blues Magazine covered you in 2025. Blues Rock Review, uh, Frozen Hearts was the single covered. Uh, Planet Rock covered that same one, and
Mm-hmm.
they Blues Rock Review covered you for the Rory Gallagher song.
Mm-hmm.
R&R Magazine had you in 2026 January. Blues in Britain just had you in this year. And then you're on Guitarist Magazine, along with Buddy Guy, Bonamassa, Billy Gibbons, and Jimmy Vaughn. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're certainly getting the attention.
Yeah, it's really cool to see like the cover of Guitarist magazine with BB King on it, and then flip a few pages in and then see my name. It makes me a little starstruck for sure.
But you know what they mentioned that you are to being renowned for your high energy stage shows. And the magazine, when they say that, they're giving the impression that everybody should know you.
Yeah,
They're not introducing you. They're saying,
no, no, yeah. They're saying, yeah, this guy came over, not even in the UK, but like this guy came to Europe one time and he was energetic as hell. So like I appreciate them holding me with that praise already.
yeah, for sure. And with this album, like I said, comes out today in the 20th, but you've got release parties in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton, Ridgeway, London, Kingston, St. Eustache in Quebec, Valmorin in Quebec, Kincardine.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's a lot of shows, and it's a smart move to get it to so many areas. Whose idea was that?
Oh, it was my ideas, and obviously my team, like whether it be my mom helping me, or my management and Gypsy Soul helping me, and myself. But honestly, just people being like, "Hey, it's new record time. We haven't seen you in a couple of years," and I was like, "Well, I need to be back." And it's a lot of building relationships over the years, and then being like, "Hey, when you do this, I want to be a part of it." And so I was just sending out a couple calls, really.
And what made you think of that?
Yeah, well, I think that um, I've been playing in a lot of these places for a lot of years, and as far as like when new music is coming out is concerned, people want to hear it, and especially in the blues genre and rock genre and even folk and jazz and stuff like that, especially like all the traditional musics, really, people want to see it live. And with the blues, it's such a great audience to do it for, and it's obviously one of my joys in life to be playing live. So I was just able to, for who would have me around where I am here in Ontario and a bit in Quebec. Um, I wanted to make sure all the people I grew up playing this music for had a chance to see it, and so really getting to go to those communities and go to these places and give them the music really is the reason why I do what I do.
One of the other things we talked about was you mentioned, the social media and all that, and you were
Mm-hmm.
really the first generation to grow up, so immersed in that.
Mm-hmm.
Older musicians are having a problem transitioning from the old record label days
Mm-hmm.
to the new days. Uh, how are you finding it to get your music out there now using these streaming systems?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask any artist about streaming services, they're definitely going to be a bit, a bit jaded, just with with making a living selling music. But I think that as far as social media is concerned, it's never been a better time because it's like before you'd have to go on the road to get people to notice what you're doing because there's no phones, there's no cameras, there's no social media. Um, so where now people could see you and they never even heard of you. You know, like before you'd have to maybe be watching TV or stumble into somewhere on an accident, um, or get referred from a friend. But really, what social media has done is been like, hey, check me out. Or like just randomly you'll find somebody, which like before it was like you had to find somebody randomly in a record store,
Right,
which is which was a lot harder to do. So the great thing with social media is just being able to branch out, and then also bring people to your shows. You know, bring people who would have otherwise not known you were there, um, to get out to your show. But then also like just with the streaming, it I mean, I, I'm an audiophile myself. You can see my records
mm,
over there, but I mean, it's great to get the music out. I wish there was a little more compensation. I wish a lot of artists share the same outlook. Um, but it's kind of the way things are going, and so I think artists have adapted to it. It's like why, it's like how do the Stones still tour? It's like well, like the last time things were on CDs was like in the late '90s, early 2000s. So it's kind of something now that I'm not saying artists have to tour, but it's definitely if you want to be making money doing it, or if you want to be sustaining or financing your record, really, um, it's something that you need to be doing. And I think the one maybe negative thing about the social media boom is that there's a lot of people playing, but not a lot of people touring. It's brought people to become a touring musician for sure, but then it's also allowed people to just be like, well, I'm just gonna play in my house and film it, but then they're famous on social media,
right,
which is if that's what you want to do, that's awesome. That's great. I think that's awesome if you're inspiring people and doing it from the comfort of your own home if you want to do that. But then at the same time, it's like, oh man, I'd love to see this guy play live, like and so I think there's kind of positives and negatives. I think that um, you could either use social media to enhance what you're already doing, or you can create something new.
right. I think it's the right attitude. I know
Mm-hmm.
Tinsley Ellis mentioned he still loves touring, and and he said specifically you have to bring the music to the people.
Yeah, you have to. Like that's like that's why they still have the Super Bowl halftime show. That's why they still have performances at the Grammys. That's why they still have arenas. It's like saying the same thing with like sporting events. It's like people aren't gonna not go. Um, like there needs to be something there to be able to show other people on the internet or on TV.
Right,
And that's never going to change. And I think with the blues being the way it is, it thrives off live performance, and that's what I've been thankful for.
great. So your new album. Empty
Hmm.
Chairs is available on your website. And where else can people get it?
Yeah, it's available to pre-order on my website. It's also available anywhere you stream music, anywhere you listen to it. Um, I also have some great live performance video um, out and already coming out from a festival we did in Quebec last year, Festival d'été. That was an amazing festival and great audience. So we have some live performance on YouTube specifically coming out there, and that's kind of where people can get it. But then most importantly, you can come see it live.
Right. And I will mention it on Facebook, your Spencer McKenzie dot John dot McKenzie
Yeah,
and
or yeah,
Spencer
Spencer.
McKenzie dot ca.
Yeah, SpencerMcKenzie.ca, Spencer McKenzie on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you are plugged in that way. And yeah, you can go listen to Empty Chairs, my newest record, and I hope you all enjoy it.
I think they will. Like I mentioned, you're getting
Hmm.
tons of accolades from all around, and good for you. And I will thank you for doing this today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for all you do, Bob. You're the best.
Oh, I'm in the top 40. All right. Take care. Talk to you
Awesome,
later.
Bob. Alrighty.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.